Jesse Berger from Radical Comics just joined us. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about, you got like 8 projects in development in Hollywood?
Time bomb about to come out.
A little movie called Oblivion with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we have a few cool projects that we've been working on for years and worked with some of the guys on this panel here. Our first project that comes out in a couple weeks is called Oblivion. It comes out on April 19th. With Tom Cruise starring in it. But that's one project under a banner of titles, and we've been privileged to work with so many great creators. And it's not just our purpose to try and convert all these things into film or other media. You know, we were accused when Radical first started of only making properties to make films, but our whole thing was look at the comics. We felt that we were actually making really, really quality products and still feel that way. Great art, great story, working with great creators, and that's all that really matters. And heard on the panel today, a lot of people say it just starts with a story and telling a great story, and that's all you have. If you do that, and if you believe in it as well and really take it all the way, you can watch that stuff turn into other things and inspire third parties. But for us, it was just starting with the story, and we built a wonderful catalog. Even if it's just 3 issues, it still contains a story, and you can build from there.
What I've done over the years is not worry so much about past the comic and just let it go and get picked up, or whatever it's going to do, whatever second life it has, and just worry more about making the book the best I can.
I can't tell you how much zombie stuff and alien stuff and killer robots from the future we see, and you gotta just know that's the last thing we want to do now. You know, we've established that, we've done that. Now we want to see the next thing. So as a creator out there, you want to tell your story and tell, you know, give us the world that we haven't seen as opposed to doing something derivative.
Our next one is Hercules. It was actually the first book that we put out. We've done a couple different series, and the first one goes into production on May 20th. So that's pretty exciting with The Rock starring in it.
It takes time. I think that's the big thing.
Definitely.
But part of it is, when you listen to, especially the guys that have done it on the comic book side, a lot of things they talk about, Jimmy just said, this took me a while.
Yeah, we have a project with Jimmy. We've been developing it in all kinds of different directions, and it's cool because the mini-series that we created, we can always come back to it and look at it in different ways. We've looked at it as a film, we've looked at it as an app, we've looked at it as a television series, and we've kind of gone down a bunch of different paths, but we always keep coming back to that source material, and that really shows the value of the material first, and not being so fixated on where it ends up going.
And no matter what happens with the book, I always say the book's there.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I feel about it. I think everyone will agree. I mean, there's the opportunity for the book to become a franchise, or to become, I heard on this panel, an app, a game, a film. It can do it all, but it always comes back to the core story. I like to look at our properties in a multifaceted way, so we like to find properties that we feel can go in different directions. I think that's, you know, we mentioned transmedia up here. It's really difficult to have just the book become enough of, let's say in the business world, a P&L that supports itself, especially if you want the top guys, top writers, top artists, and I'm talking about just in the comics, not even looking at films. Everyone really deserves what they get, but it can be highly expensive to create a comic book. So from our standpoint at Radical, we've always looked at these properties in all the different avenues that they can exist in, but again, it always comes back to the key story and the characters, and that's just your core. And you can't do without that.
Now, you know, your property lives on as you created it in your comic book. And that's why what you want to do is you want to, when you make your deal, you want to make sure you can carve out those rights, your publishing rights, so you can do with your universe whatever you want to.
It's a step-by-step thing. I try to tell people, you know, first focus on having a really good story. I operate now like Kevin. I do the screenplay first. Now, not everybody does that. Some do a pure comic book first, and then the screenplay is adapted afterwards. But spend most of your time rewriting your material. Make it really strong before you put it out there in the marketplace, and spend a lot of money on artists. The next step is you want to team up with a really kick-ass artist, somebody who you know, has a true vision, and they're going to bring a little extra something to it. Now, if you hire the writer, you yourself, yeah, it costs money. You know, I invested money in my project Chopper, and at first I was like, what am I doing? I'm spending all this money. But it actually increased the value of the project. But make sure that you retain all the rights. That's a work for hire sort of a thing. And then once you have great art and a great story, then now your next job is to try to find a publisher, somebody who can get it out there and build a fan base.
The most important thing for any of your ideas is to find someone who's falls as in love with them as you are. Because if you can find that person that is as in love with it and will put the effort and the time in to make it something great, even if it's different from your book, that will carry it through the millions of steps and the hurdles and everything that you need to go through in order to actually get a movie made.
By the way, sometimes changes you didn't see will open it up to a whole different audience that you never thought about. And those people's money goes into your pockets.
It's all about finding someone who's passionate about the material. So, in our case, we don't necessarily just look for a producer. It could be any piece of an attachment that makes the difference. So it could be another great writer who's going to work closely with the creator and adapt something from the graphic novel. It could be a producer who feels confident that they can do something or another with the property. In our case, we're a director-centric company, and we just like to say that because at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a project made, it's going to be about who that person is that's going to bring it onto screen visually. And we found that it works really well for us to start with the director, and then you build everything around there. And usually the director is going to have the most affinity to the core material. So you're going to have the director who really, really believes and wants to defend the creator's vision. We find that's going to be the best way going forward, and then build everything around that. So we're not particular about taking one thing to a producer, take to a studio, or develop it that way.
It's so rare now to hear of a property that is sold without any attachments. You really have to package it up.
Again, always come back to that core material. If I was giving advice to somebody else, I might say something a little bit different. It would be good to find a producer. Producers of substance can make a big difference. Oftentimes they have their own relationships with directors or with the studios, and they can move more mountains than just you and a director can. In our case, we feel really confident going forward with the director that we believe in. That was kind of the case with Oblivion. We believed in Joe back when he was just doing commercials and before he got Tron. So it really can evolve if you find the right person, and they're going to take it as far as they can.